And we're taking yet again another crack at the Fantastic Four franchise. Are we finally going to get it right this time? Of course, this is in the MCU, and let's dive in. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Movie Dive. Today we're diving into the MCU's Fantastic Four, The First Steps. Before we do, please don't forget to subscribe to Movie Dive and try to get this little channel to 1,000 subscribers in 2025. So, of course, it's been a rocky road for the Fantastic Four. The first film that I saw in the whole series was in the early 2000s when they had a Jessica Alba, Chris Evans, and so forth. You could watch it, but it's nothing spectacular. And, of course, I think it was 2015, about 10 years ago, they had Fan Four Stick, which absolutely no one liked. You can pull up any clip on YouTube from that movie that you want, and you will see just how poorly that was written. Now that the MCU could finally bring in the Fantastic Four, people were wondering what are they going to do that is so different than the previous versions and how are they going to make it good? Because these characters are naturally kind of cheesy. And I would say people have concerns that it's hard to adapt them into a really good film. So Marvel decided to bring in the big bats, of course, with Pedro Pascal, who's almost in everything. I feel like I have a review every single week with this guy in it. And Vanessa Kirby taking the helm as Sue Storm. Joseph Quinn, of course, from Stranger Things, amongst other stuff, is playing the Human Torch. Julia Gardner plays the Silver Surfer in this movie, more to come on that. And I never know how to say this guy's name right, but Ralph Ensign, who plays Galactus in this film. So I'm debating myself, do I go with the good of this movie or do I go with the bad of this movie first? I'm going to go with the good first. So first off, starting at the beginning of this film, Fantastic Four looks gorgeous. It is very different than anything we've seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far, and it's anything different we've seen from the previous Fantastic Four movies in the past. Of course, as most of you know from the trailers, we jump straight into the character's story. We don't get an origin by any sense. There is a little bit of exposition at the beginning of the film, kind of like the Superman movie had, telling you where these characters have been in the past. Now, another win for me was Julia Gardner playing Silver Surfer. I know a lot of people were up in arms that they made her a female. There is a version of the comics where she's a female. I don't know. I don't really care about all that. I do think that she did work in this movie. There was a lot of scenes where she felt menacing and she did feel threatening, and I did want to actually see more of her as the film went on. Another positive of this movie is there were some action scenes that were absolutely gorgeous to look at and really beautifully shot, executed, specifically one in space surrounding a black hole. And I know it's no Interstellar, but still it's a cool action scene in space, and I really enjoyed it. There are certain moments in the Fantastic Four that really got Galactus right. There's a scene where he does destroy a planet and shows you how he does it, and I think it looked really cool and really threatening on camera. All the main characters of the movie do a decent job, and with that, I'm going to move into what I did not like as much about the movie, and I will say that Fantastic Four: The First Steps pretty much did disappoint me on some level. It's not as low as the Marvel stuff we've gotten lately, but I'd say this is like the Derek Carr or Kirk Cousins of superhero movies. It's as middle of the road as you can possibly get with a superhero film. That being said, I feel like they did not want to take some massive swings in this because they're really scared of missing. In that essence, there's a lot of stuff that is just so bland. And the movie is about an hour 55 minutes long, and I know we're skipping an origin story here, but I feel like there's a better way to do that. In Fantastic Four: First Steps, it feels like you're watching the second or third movie in a Fantastic Four trilogy. It feels like you're entering a friend group and they've been friends for 20 years and you're just meeting these people, so you just kind of feel off. This movie's not filled with jokes like a lot of Marvel movies are, but when they do go for it, it didn't really hit for me, especially Joseph Quinn's character. He drops some lines that sounds like he's trying to be funny, but kind of comes off like he's an asshole and didn't fully work for me. You're going to hear a bunch from me that I'm going to say it didn't fully work or didn't completely work. That's because, again, everything was just not bad. It was just so middle of the road. And it being middle of the road, again, that was disappointing. I was actually expecting more out of this movie. We don't have a movie here where the writing is half-assed or just written by ChatGPT like a lot of the previous ones feel like, but it feels like we're going from scene to scene without getting any character buildup. This movie is almost 2 hours long. It's one of the shortest movies in the MCU, and I was really excited to see what they do with that, but it does feel like we're missing half an hour of the movie. At the same time, I wouldn't want to see another half an hour of this film. Recently, we just had Superman come out, and that was an hour 58 minutes, I believe, and they did such a perfect job with the pace and editing style of that movie that you didn't feel like you were missing anything while watching it. In this film, again, there's just not that much there. Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby, whenever they talk to each other, I don't feel the love between them. I just don't. I feel like I'm being overly negative about Fantastic Four when it's not that bad of a movie. It's not that good of a movie. It's just whatever. And I feel like we did want better than whatever heading into the next step in Avengers Doomsday. Now, I believe this is the final film before the next Avengers, and I still just don't feel exactly where we're going in the MCU, which is just not a great place you want to be. Galactus does feel a little bit subpar towards the end. The final climax of the movie, it's a big fight, but I just found myself not feeling very emotionally invested. I also feel like this is the first film where I felt some Pedro Pascal fatigue. He's not bad at it by any means, but I didn't feel the geniusness I felt with him as, for example, when I was watching Robert Downey Jr. for the first time in Iron Man, I really felt that he was more brilliant than everyone else in the room. I just did not feel that with Mr. Fantastic. Again, I said before, this movie doesn't shove jokes down your throat, but there is one really bad time joke towards the climax of the movie. Just completely had me rolling my eyes. But in the end, it looks gorgeous. gorgeous. There's some cool action scenes, but I feel like we're just cutting from scene to scene when you don't really feel that invested into the characters. And in the end, it just feels a little bit bland. But I'm going to go ahead and give Fantastic Four a 55 out of 100. What did you guys think of the Fantastic Four First Steps? You might have liked it a lot more than I did, or did you completely hate this movie a lot more than I did? I did not think it was that bad. Go ahead, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the Movie Dive, and we will see you next time.